Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I will be running through what features are expected to release in 2024 for Star Citizen. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support, in particular to my latest channel member, Jandal. It is very much appreciated, and if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So 2024 is set to be one of, if not the most significant and influential years for Star Citizen to date. There is so much work going on in many areas of development, from gameplay, features, ships and vehicles, core tech, and of course Squadron 42, that it is very hard not to get excited when looking at what Cloud Imperium are planning to release this year. Now, entering the new year, Star Citizen is in a great place to deliver so much of what is required to take it from an alpha state to a pretty polished and smooth experience. Will we see everything in this list release in 2024? Quite possibly, but of course it is possible that some features don't make it in on their expected dates, as that is often the case. However, getting any of these features into the game will certainly be beneficial. So today I will talk about what features are expected to release this year, and the vast majority of them coming in the first half, as stated by Cloud Imperium. But let us kick off with core tech. Now, as we know, Cloud Imperium are currently running tests on the tech preview channel with the separation of the replication layer, just to see what its impact is in a safe environment without putting the live branch in jeopardy. Now, although we have not heard about how well this is going, I have jumped into the tech preview channel a couple of times during this testing phase, and I can say that the build feels way smoother than what we have on the live servers, while maintaining a very solid server frame rate. Now, I have seen it drop to about 8 FPS for the server, but then it eventually recovers back up to 15 plus FPS. Now, the chances are Cloud Imperium will be pushing this to the PTU or to the live build out of the tech preview channel early this year, once they are back from their holiday break, releasing it in a 322.x patch. And once they have done that, that will mean a much smoother experience in the persistent universe for everybody, plus the ability to recover properly from a 30k, which is a very significant win. And then from there, they will start testing server meshing, as we have heard. 3.23, which is the Q1 patch, being the end of March, is when they're expecting to start rolling out server meshing. Chances are it is just on the tech preview channel, or with just using the Stanton system, having various shards within the Stanton system. But Cloud Imperium have stated that they are aiming for a summer release of Alpha 4.0, which means server meshing, jump points, and the pyro system. And again, this is just a target date, but if they can get 4.0 out in summertime, then that would be pretty phenomenal. If not, then the likelihood is it will still be within 2024, just a little later. And from what I understand, this will just be static server meshing. There is still dynamic server meshing to complete, but ultimately that would then be the final piece of core tech done for Star Citizen, which means it is then just building the game and the features, and no longer the foundation. Now, if that is not enough, we recently heard about what features and gameplay are expected to release into the persistent universe within the first half of 2024. This means Q1 being the end of March patch, and Q2 patch being the end of June. Now, I will run through each of them and talk a little bit about what each one is, but to save time, I won't delve into them too much, as it would just take way too long. But these include gameplay and much needed quality of life improvements as well, many of which we have heard about and got to see at CitizenCon last year. Now, first up, again, I won't go too far into this because I'm sure we've all heard about it a lot, we have freight elevators and persistent hangars. Now, this is one of the larger changes to the persistent universe that will drastically affect how we all play Star Citizen. And essentially, persistent hangars will mean that we will have a home base that we can return to as and when we like, storing our ships and vehicles, our items, cargo, weapons, basically everything we own, acting as a home that we can decorate how we want with all of our items, meeting friends there, arranging and organizing missions together, and getting our ships ready with the equipment that we need. Freight elevators that kind of go hand in hand with this will enable us to do the storing and organizing of our items and ships, giving us the ability to store these things in our global inventory and calling them up as and when we need them. Now, these two features will be game changers. It will completely change how we interact with our gear and our items and getting things ready for the mission at hand, while giving us a place to call home. I really hope that these are Q1 releases, but we will have to wait and see when the roadmap gets updated. Now, also rolling out this year are some pretty huge cargo updates. In fact, cargo will evolve likely to where Cloud Imperium have always wanted it to be, growing in scale from these small package deliveries that we have now to massive consignments traveling great distances to complete. These will all range in payout based on distance, size, and danger, becoming available as we unlock these jobs through the reputation system. Also, distribution centers, which I will cover in a separate video, but talk about it briefly in this video, are going to play a pivotal role in the expansion of the cargo career, all the while developing the dynamic economy, which is going to be an ongoing process throughout the year. Now, the cargo profession is set to blow up this year and offer jobs for all scales and interest, really taking that profession to not just the next level, but from what I can tell, a completely new standard as well, with how we interact, load and unload, transport and store cargo of all types. And seeing all of these updates slowly tying together is going to be something special to watch. And cargo hauling will be extremely open-ended with so much variety to each potential job, and I'm here for it all. Now, next up, we have a few improvements that will take the current FPS elements of Star Citizen from, as I say, feeling like an alpha to feeling more like a polished AAA standard experience. As we have seen at CitizenCon, there was a lot of updates and improvements coming to FPS combat that are all very much needed, as right now FPS in Star Citizen can be quite janky and awkward and at times just frustrating or downright impossible. But features like reloading, being able to repool our ammo into magazines, pulling a magazine from a backpack, with it taking a slightly little longer time to action, weapons will wear and degrade, which will impact a weapon's performance and aesthetics, causing misfires. The new scope visuals will be a very welcome addition to bring them up to the current gaming standard. Dynamic crosshairs for when you're wearing a helmet, letting you know exactly where your weapon will strike when fired, plus the charge and drain mechanic, which means batteries, energy weapons running out of ammunition or energy and will require recharging to be usable again, which for items like the multi-tool will require planning and thought to make sure that you have the power you need for the job at hand. Now, this work is about bringing Star Citizen's FPS element to that current standard of what we expect and beyond from what we can see at CitizenCon, which has been a long time coming, so I am very grateful to see a lot of that rolling out within the first half. Now, another feature coming in the first half of this year is EVA Tier 2, and this has again been a long time coming. It's been in the works for quite a while, and will make any zero-G traversal situation so much better, smoother, and less frustrating. It'll also bring many quality of life improvements for this mechanic in general, and it just looks much better as well, allowing for more traversal opportunities, which will help to expand on the gameplay and just make the overall experience more enjoyable. Exploring wrecks and being able to pull yourself through the interior or along the exterior. EVA jets on your spacesuits won't necessarily come as standard and may need to be purchased separately. Fuel for the EVA jets as well will be finite and can deplete, leaving you stranded if there is no other option for maneuvering. So this is a wholesome update to a system that is heavily used and so needs to be everything that we want it to be. Next is a highly important update coming to the visor and lens UI. Now, the UI is going to see a lot of changes over the next year in many areas of the game, if not all areas of the game, and one in desperate need of improvement and cleaning up is the helmet visor HUD. Now, although there is a lot more work coming for helmet visors, like creating unique visor HUDs for the various range of helmet types like combat, mining, exploration, and so on, this work will just clean up the HUD and make it more legible, displaying information better and clearer than what we have now. Now, the same kind of goes for the lens UI in terms of cleaning it up anyway, but I really hope to see later down the line more variations between the lenses and making them also contextual to various game mechanics. For example, it would be pretty cool and very useful if you were a bounty hunter to have a bounty hunter lens, allowing players to maybe scan other players or NPCs to see if they're your bounty without giving away that you are using some special device or your helmet. Now, this will just make the general UI displayed to us much more useful and less chaotic, and will really help to polish up what we have while paving the way for future gameplay, like the different helmet types and the ability to remove or put on your helmet, inspecting them and having a boot up and power down sequence. which is something that I've been looking forward to ever since we saw that fancy helmet flip from before Arena Commander days. Anyway, next up we have the new interaction mode, which was an element again shown off at CitizenCon that will introduce a new way of interacting with everything in the game, giving us more options on how we interact with each type of item, be that instantly storing or equipping instead of the clunky pickup method that we have now. Now, the significance of this quality of life update should not be overlooked either, as it impacts everyone with everything we do. It is pretty much a system that is the most used, I would say, so it is very important that it is user-friendly and versatile while being capable of suiting every player's needs. It does look much cleaner, but until we get it in our hands, I am not sure how it will feel or how usable it will be, but I am definitely glad that they are removing that horrific glow from around an item. Now, the new looting screens are also coming this year, which will introduce this new quick loot screen to help players take only the items that are of immediate importance during a tense situation, like ammo, weapons, grenades, med pens and so on. This screen will not offer the option for seeing your character, but it will provide a much more streamlined process for getting the gear that you need in a pinch. A very helpful addition that will make combat looting in dangerous situations far less problematic and a lot more efficient. Now, it was also mentioned that the new shopping and mission apps for the Mobiglass are on the way. The new shopping app we are yet to see anything of, so I can't speak about that, but we have seen the progress on the new mission app, albeit the Squadron 42 sort of UEE Navy version, but we will see a Persistent Universe specific updated mission app that will provide a lot more useful and coherent information regarding any mission that we have going. Again, these are more quality of life improvements that have been heavily needed for quite a while, and I think this will also include the updated Mobiglass itself, so a new home screen to provide relevant information at a glance, but also this updated Mobiglass will pave the way for many new Mobiglass apps like the Bounty Hunting app, or Cargo Manifest app, or a trading app. So not only will it improve our experience of having a new, more user-friendly Mobiglass, it will also mean they can expand on the app options and take new game systems to a whole new level. Now, up next we have the character customizer, and seeing this at CitizenCon, it is looking pretty incredible, and will offer not just more unique and defined characters, but a lot more diversity and choice of beards, tattoos, scars, and piercings. Now, there is a lot more to come in the future for the character customizer, including many more hairstyles, but getting this into the Persistent Universe will help the verse to feel so much more interesting, and I really hope that this will allow us to physically identify our friends in-game simply based on how they look. Now, one of, if not the biggest new feature for many coming in the first half of this year is the new star map and associated maps like the mini-map. This is by far one of the most important and needed quality of life improvements that has been in the works for a long time. Having a map that can scale from the ground level all the way to the full universe level is going to be so helpful and allow for the expansion of other systems like the radar and scanning systems, opening up the potential of actual exploration. But also, this option to drop a pin and share or sell those coordinates to others should not be undersold. Having the ability to actually mark a location to be able to return to is of massive importance. For example, if you find a large quantity of Quantanium, but you can't mine it all, you can set a marker there and then return to the location to finish the job. Now, I personally see myself using this coordinate system for when I am out and about, just doing general stuff, and if I discover a wreck that I don't want to salvage there, or some cargo lying around that I can't fit in my hold, or maybe some minables, I will either place a marker to return to later, or I could offer those coordinates to the highest bidder over global chat, or just share them with my org mates so that they can benefit from them. Now, eventually, maybe not on the launch of the new star map, we will have a form of marketplace to offer these discoveries to anyone who is willing to pay for them, but I don't know if that will be possible with the first initial launch. Anyway, the significance of the new star map is huge and will impact everybody for the better, making navigation so much better and allowing for route plotting as well. Again, maybe not at launch for the full system, but eventually the star map will pull the live data from the game, displaying, say, pirate activity or other dangers to allow pilots to plot the route that they want while avoiding any obstacles. The minimap will also help when navigating these vast locations, again helping to plan ahead and save time being able to see where you need to go. Now, the new maps are another game changer in my opinion and vital to the expansion of Star Citizen, so I am very happy to hear that they're planned to release in the first half of this year. Now, the last feature that was stated is coming in the first half of this year are the distribution centers. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I will be addressing these in a lot more detail in a separate video later on, as they are a lot more important than I first realized. Now, I won't go into it too much here, but the general gist of it is these locations will offer many different mission types, heavily play a role in the economy, and help to expand the cargo mechanics and profession massively. There are so much to these new points of interest that were purpose-built to offer as much gameplay as possible while cover as many other game areas as possible at the same time. Again, keep your eyes out for that video because there is a lot of detail in that I think most of us maybe hadn't realized, but seeing these monstrous points of interest come into the verse in the first half will be pretty cool. Now, of course, throughout 2024, there will be a number of ships and vehicles released throughout the year. Many of them we saw during CitizenCon, and I will link a previous video of mine covering what we saw and what could potentially come. But all that I spoke about here, aside from the ships and Alpha 4.0, are all slated to release within the first half of 2024. So what do CIG have planned for the second half? Now, the likelihood is some of these features might not make it into the first half of this year, so could slip or priorities could shift, but if Alpha 4.0 comes along around summertime, then there will be a good chance that many of the intended second half features are surrounding the new system. There was also a lot of stuff not mentioned here which I won't go into in this video, but I will create a separate video about them, which include features like the master modes for ships, hacking, bounty hunting, potential weather updates, creatures, maelstrom damage system, NPC improvements, and more points of interest, as well as base building, which is kicking off its work in Q1 next year, and many of these features could be progressing throughout next year, making their way closer to release. And that is only a few of them. There is probably a lot more that I haven't mentioned. As I say, I am working on a video covering what we haven't heard is coming, but could come next year, as many of these features finish their work on the progress tracker, so I think there's a good chance we will see quite a few of them. Now, to finish with, one thing that I am heavily anticipating to hear more about in the second half of next year, or towards the end of next year really, is Squadron 42. Right now, we know they are focused on polishing the campaign and then optimizing it, getting it ready for release. Now, this means there is a good chance that we could hear about a release date for the end of 2024 or early 2025, and with the majority of the teams who were working on Squadron now transitioning to the Persistent Universe, it certainly bodes well for seeing much more progress on the Persistent Universe, far more than we have seen in previous years since they shifted focus to Squadron 42. But there you have it. That is all of the features that we know of coming in 2024, and then some that we could see as well. Now, as much as Cloud Imperium have outlined these plans themselves, for me, it is always a wait and see what happens and see what comes, as things can and will likely change throughout the year. But one thing is for certain, in my eyes, is that the Star Citizen that we are playing today is not going to be the same Star Citizen that we are playing later on this year. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Do let me know what you are most excited for and why. And please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, come and hang out over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. The link is in the description below. It is always a pleasure hanging out with you guys, talking about Star Citizen, its development, what features are coming, what you like to do in game now. It would be a pleasure to have you all over there. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.